You're listening to the Handcrafted Therapy Podcast with massage therapist and business owner, Julie Alexander. That's me. I'm your host. I've been a massage therapist for 17 years, and I have a business marketing degree. On this podcast, we'll be interviewing industry professionals that can talk to us about how to run your business better, how to be a better massage therapist overall, and how to take care of yourself and give yourself a little love, a little self-care, little grace in your life. I am so glad that you're here. Thanks so much for joining us today. All right, so welcome to the podcast. I have a very dear friend of mine on today. I'm so excited to introduce to you Erika Newsom. As you know, I'm Julie Alexander. I am a massage therapist, getting ready to open a store and training center for massage therapists in Plano, Texas. Very excited about that. Erika has been on my journey for a long time now. She is a client as well as a marketing expert, has helped me move into the next phase of my business. I'm so excited to share with my audience the expertise that Erika brings, because I feel like so many massage therapists really don't understand anything about marketing and think of it as a 4-letter word. So I'm so pleased to welcome Erika to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Julie, I am happy to be here.
So Erika, what have you learned from working with me in the marketing field in the spa industry?
Sure. Hey, well, are you cool if we actually start with me talking a little bit about my background?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. So, yes, we have known each other for quite some time. And first you were my massage therapist, and then you were my friend. And then I worked with you on the opening of your spa. And it's been great to see your journey. It's been really fun. So in terms of my marketing background, I've been in marketing for almost 30 years, which is, I like to say over 25 because it makes me sound less old, but it's almost 30 years now. And my specific area of expertise, although I've touched probably all kinds of marketing over the course of my career, I've really been focused on paid media for most of it. So I've worked with clients, usually larger companies. So Dr. Pepper, Frito Lay, Microsoft, folks like that. But I have a lot of passion for independent small business owners. And so, I have friends who definitely own their own businesses, and I am always willing to lend a helping hand. And I find it very interesting to work with them on their unique opportunities and challenges, right? So that's a little bit about my background, and then also kind of how we know each other and how we've come to work together.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, those are some pretty huge companies that you've worked for. And I know you don't specialize necessarily in small businesses or in massage spa industry, but I really feel like you have such a good depth of knowledge in marketing that can be shared. How do you think a massage therapist or a small business owner should approach marketing when they first start their business?
I think they really have to start with fundamentals, and those fundamentals are universal regardless of the size of business, really. And I would say that probably the biggest watch out when you think about marketing is, I have clients who this is true, definitely. And I think it's true for like a small business owner as well, where you don't start with operations. Like, marketing will never fix an operations issue, right? So the fundamentals of client service, so what their experience is from the second they walk in the door, what their treatment is like, their level of satisfaction with it, is fundamental to any marketing that you will do. So people all the time want to try to fix operational issues with marketing, and it won't work. I'll just tell you that right now. It will not work. So that'd be the first place I start, is customer feedback, really understanding what the experience is, because those people who are your current clients or your current client base are going to be one of the most valuable marketing assets you have. And so their feedback is crucial, not only to how you improve your service and your business, but also serve as kind of like the bedrock of any marketing outreach you do. Because these days, really, from a marketing standpoint, word of mouth is never going to go out of style. We love to focus on a lot of digital marketing options now, and I'll talk a little bit about those. But word of mouth is always going to be a strong component of what you're able to feature in terms of testimonials, in terms of referrals, et cetera. And nowadays that lives in large part, not only through personal word of mouth, but primarily Google reviews, right? There are a lot of review platforms. And so, you probably have software that will help facilitate requesting those types of reviews. And if you don't, you absolutely should. And I would look to you to probably maybe suggest some more specific options for people in your space, but really making sure that you deliver a great experience and then encouraging people to share that digitally in terms of a review is really the place to start. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to reiterate what you just said to me in my own words, and please correct me if anything that I say is incorrect. So what I'm going to say is that if you're not getting referrals and you're not getting people in the door and you need more people to come in, you need more business, throwing money into marketing is not going to solve the problem. You need to make your current customers happy and listen to them, listen to what they're telling you is good, bad, or ugly, and fix the ugly or bad, and then ask for referrals.
Yes. As for reviews specifically, because those are going to have a lot of reach for you, because everyone is going to start out by Googling you. So either they're Googling or doing a search, but the vast majority of searches are on Google. It's either for a broader term in your category, best massage therapist near me, therapeutic massage near me. Near me is always a key component to that. And then, so they're going to search either that, or even if someone specifically refers you, they're going to look you up online to do a gut check, to be like, oh, do they have good reviews? What's the story? I mean, very rarely will someone not, do a little research on you before they book. So, the key components there are, and I don't know, what software do you use or have you used in the past that's really good about that follow-up? Once you've got the email, once they've booked an appointment, it automatically kicks out that request for like a Google review or whatever.
Yeah, we have so many different platforms that we can use. I mean, from free to really expensive. So, of course, the more expensive ones have reviews already built into them, like the Mind Body. We kind of talked about that in the last episode with Dr. Polson. He talked a little bit about what scheduling apps that most people use. But yeah, I mean, Google's probably in Yelp, and there's a few others out there. But I think, Erika, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that when you're starting your business, the first thing that I believe is probably one of the most important marketing pieces to do is to claim your business on Google.
Yep.
And to do that, you have to have a mailing address. So you have to go into Google, put in your information. You get a piece of old school mail, like in the mail. You actually have to get the envelope and open it up and go on to Google and say, yes, this is really me. So I don't know that a lot of business owners even know that they need to do that. And that's a critical piece to starting off the Google process, right?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, you know what, Julie, you bring up a great point. Let's take like maybe 3 steps back, because you're right. We kind of started with like building on a base that maybe some people don't have. So even before you claim your business on Google and verify it and set up kind of the specifics of your Google My Business, the first thing you're going to want to do is really sit down and think through what your brand is, right? So you have to have you have to have a distinct name, right? And so ideally it's a name that conveys whatever you want to convey. And then you you probably want to set up some form of a website that has some basic information. Most people are going to look for your hours and your location and information on your services and potentially pricing, depending on, what you want to put out there. And then, they just want to know what's the information I need and how can I contact you, or the basics of that. So it doesn't have to be super fancy. As long as it has that and it's easy to find that information, then everything else is gravy. And it'll, the look and feel hopefully represent what you want to represent. So when we sat down, we actually did an exercise when you were working on your spa space where we did brainstorming around name and specifically words that you felt captured what you wanted to offer. And I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about that process? What that was like, just the naming piece?
Yeah, absolutely. That was really fun.
Yeah. And so, you throw a bunch of words up on a piece of paper or up on a whiteboard, and then you decide, okay, what combination of these words makes sense? You kind of try it out, live with it for a little bit. But whatever you decide, and it can be a DBA, it can be the name of your LLC, whatever it is, that's what you're going to center your business on. That's your brand, right? For some people, that's their name, in your space. Some people may not have a broader brand. And I think you started that way, right?
I did. I started with Julie's Therapeutic Massage.
Yep. And so it may just be your name, but you have to think through like how you want to message around that, what you want to settle on. Is it your name? Is it something like that combines your name with very clear information about the service you provide? Or is it more of an overarching brand? And so when you sit down to go through that, it's also good to really define a few things, and I'll supply a form that walks people through that you can post in your show notes if you want. But yeah, and in a couple of sentences, just defining your business, like what's your business overview? How are you defining it? Like in 2 sentences, get to something pretty succinct, like here's kind of what I want to offer. And then you can then drill down into that and say, what am I trying to solve for that marketing can help with? So like, what am I offering that's distinct potentially versus other options? And, that helps you really focus on, okay, here's what marketing may be able to help me solve for or convey, right, to people. And then you want to look at who your target audience is. And a lot of people say, my target audience is everyone, because it's anyone who's interested in coming in to have a massage, right? And that's true. It may not be demographics. So I think we think of target audience as maybe like people of a certain age or a certain gender or a certain income level or something like that. It may not be that. It may be, for you, I think we settled on it was people who believed that massage was a key part of their wellness routine. And they were strong believers in the therapeutic benefits of massage, right? And within, probably a geographic radius, because people will travel a certain distance for that service. So, you just sit down and say, okay, let me define my audience. And then it may be that, like if you offer only organic products, then you're like people who are organic minded, or, there may be other like nuances that you include there. But once you kind of have those basics, then you can sit down and say, okay, how does that inform my messaging? The information and copy that I write and put on my website, how I talk to people about my business when I meet them, if I'm actively networking, you kind of get down like your pitch or your elevator speech, right? About here's what I do. And that process helps you winnow it down to something that's pretty quick that could be summed up in a couple of sentences. And who your client is. Like, I think also in the process with you, we talked a lot about people who had more flexible schedules because you didn't want to be working a lot of nights and weekends, so those are, and you might, I think a lot of people generally are sometimes afraid to actually say what they want because they think, well, that I'm limiting myself too much. Like, I don't want to work nights and weekends. Well, That's not going to work. People are going to want those appointments. That's true. There are people who are going to want those types of appointments. You just may get to a point in your career where you have the option to draw boundaries that benefit you. And then you just find a client set that meets those boundaries and meets those needs. Similar with pricing, I think. I think that when you start out, probably your pricing, I would guess, is a little bit more advantageous versus average. And then over time, you're able to change that. And so I don't know, you can speak to this better than I can, but like pricing is a key component in terms of like your marketing messaging. And you can play with that and start to find like kind of the happy medium there.
Well, I'm
Do you
glad
agree?
I'm glad you brought pricing up. I want to talk about target market, brand, and pricing for sure.
Okay.
Those three things.
Yeah.
I think those are good basics to take, like to really grasp what those things mean and how to approach them. So it sounds to me like you're saying you really need to think about your target market, what you're offering, and how that answers or solves a problem, right?
Yep.
And so who are those people you're targeting that solves a problem for? So that's your target market. And they might look like people in your area, ages, 16 to 45, female or male, of a certain income, that are, available during the day to do massages or have flexible income, whatever your target market may look like. It's probably different than mine.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right.
But one of my previous professional mentors has said, think of a target market instead of thinking of it as who will come see you and who you're narrowing your focus down. Think of it as who is your perfect client.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if I were to think about who my perfect client is, Erika, it would be somebody very similar to you. Somebody, and you've got all those things, somebody who's kind and generous and flexible with their schedule and really likes massage and knows the benefit of massage and knows what they want and what they don't want and respects my time, won't cancel on me at the last minute, tells their friends about me, and talks about how awesome their massages are and has friends that they will refer to me or family. So I think like talking about target market can be daunting because you think you're excluding people. But in reality, let me talk to the woo-woos out there, because we do have a lot of woo-woos in our family of massage therapist friends. And you would call it manifesting those people. That's what a lot of us think as manifesting your preferred target audience, right? So you think about people, you focus on getting those people, you manifest them to come into your facility. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the classic. It's the same way you develop a group of friends or anything else, right? It's like, these are the type of people I'm looking for. And if those are the type of people you're looking for, you'll find them, right? It's just being clear on what works for you. So agreed. It's not that you're narrowing it. And then, over time you're definitely, one thing, we should definitely talk about is, test and learn, and kind of like this idea of always optimizing and always making adjustments based on what you're learning. And I'm sure that's true as you have continuing education around the services you offer. It's also true in terms of the type of people who are attracted to your business and the season you're in as a business owner or massage therapist, like where your interest is. So that'll evolve over time. And so your clientele may evolve over time as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then as you develop exactly who your target market is and what your focus is, that's where the brand is the answer to that, correct? Like your brand is
correct.
Is your personality, is your business's personality, the colors associated with it, the feelings that people get around those colors, and and everything kind of being in the same font and color and category and feel and look. It's like when you put together an outfit that you're going to wear in the morning, you want to make sure that you're not in plaid and polka dots and green and blue. You're not clashing. It's the same kind of thing with your branding. You want your website and, everything that you do that presents your company to the world to look and feel the same, right?
I agree. I think that it plays into a lot of things. Look and feel is something that would be key, but also, language is the biggest thing to me because you can convey a lot visually. But I think it's also intimidating to people in terms of like the graphic design element, a lot of those pieces. And, we can talk about how you find somebody to assist you with that. But when you think about something that's probably a little more accessible, it's really the language and how you craft that and how you talk about here's what problem I solved for fill in the blank, these type of people, right? So yes, foundationally. And as you go to look at how to put those things together, whether it's your website or other materials, you can rely on people. It might be that there are not people who professionally are in marketing, but someone, for example, who is really great at writing and maybe they have a job related to it, or maybe they're just good at it. They can help you sit down and fine tune your, pitch, what you're going to say, how you're going to phrase things. And then, there are a lot of resources online to access people for specific project related graphic design work. And I will caveat there that, and I think you found this to be true, you tend to get a little bit what you pay for. So if you go on and you're like, I can have a logo for $25, you might end up with a logo that looks like you got it for $25. But, sometimes those things can be interesting to explore just to get some variations and thought on how to approach something or different colors or whatever. And I don't know if you want to speak to some of the resources you've used there.
Well, and I would say this, if you're on a tight budget, which most of us massage therapists are, and you need a logo, I would say $25 is not that much. Just go ahead and invest in that to get a logo that's professional instead of trying to do one yourself. That's the first thing I want to say. If you have $25, if you have $100, there's a budget for you out there. I think it's called 99 Designs. There's probably several out there, but I know I went on.
There are a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I went on 99 Designs and you can post like, I need a logo designed and I'm willing to pay this much money for it. And then people bid on that project. Or you can just go find one. They have portfolios out there. You can find somebody you like and go, hey, will you make me a logo?
Right.
How much do you normally charge? And it is negotiable, by the way, like everything in life. You can say, well, I can't afford that. And they'll most likely come back and go, well, how much do you want to pay for it? And you can negotiate that with them. So, but I would highly recommend, we're really good at massage, but we might not be really good at marketing or all the other business things that we have to do in life as a massage therapist. And it's frustrating. It's hard. And give yourself a break because you're not necessarily a graphic design artist. And there are options out there that are not necessarily going to break your bank. So invest the time and the money into learning how to hire somebody to do a logo for you. And it's not a process that just is going to happen in one day. You don't go,
right,
this is what I want, make me something. That does happen, but it takes a few rounds of, okay, well, that's not really exactly what I like. Can we change this or can we change that? And so you're going to have a few options to, figure out where you're going. But the branding process, can we talk a little bit about how to come up with like what you want the character of your brand to be? I mean, we talked about it being an answer to your target market or the problem that you're solving, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have on coming up with the character or brand of your business?
Well, I think that an easy place to start is just using adjectives. So saying, my business is this, my business is not this. And that's a really helpful exercise because it just forces you to think of adjectives that are what you want associated with your business when people think of it and what you definitely want to avoid. And some of those things you want to avoid are not necessarily bad things. They're just not things for you, right? And they're not things that your business stands for, your brand stands for, or you want people to have top of mind when they think of you. So it's not necessarily positives and negatives. It's just a selection process. These are words I want associated with my business and what I'm offering. These are words that probably aren't a fit for me. And that may be words that are common. I think one of your words, I don't want to out you too much, that fell in the not column was woo woo, because you were like, I'm not very woo woo, although I maintain you are a little. But so it's just a selection process. Or it was more, I think in your not column was people who just want, kind of a easy Swedish massage, right? They're not really sold on the therapeutic benefit of massage. Those probably aren't people who are going to be as interested in your business because you want to focus on therapeutic. So, the reverse may be true for some people listening to this podcast, right? So it may be that they want a more relaxing spa experience is what they want to deliver. And so they have different words in that, these are words I want to associate with my business column, right? So I think that process is really helpful because it's simple. It's just adjectives, but you're separating things out. And then once you get that list that is, these are my words, then to go through that list, depending on how long it is, try to think of as many as you can. So it's a pretty good list that you have to start with, and then go through and maybe cut a few out that are redundant or that are not as relevant. And then the ones that are remaining, try to prioritize those. So say, this is the number one word that I would think of when I think of my business. And then that'll give you a tighter list that you can then use to inform decisions that you make. So, if you consult with a graphic designer, or even if you do a little research, if there are certain colors that are calming versus invigorating, et cetera. And so that'll lead you down that path in terms of the look and feel and also really the language.
Yeah, I love it. I mean,
does that make sense?
There's a lot of psychology behind colors that you can honestly just Google it and kind of look and see what green means or what blue or red or yellow. I mean, there's a lot of psychology behind it, but that doesn't mean you have to affiliate your logo with something. If you're offering relaxation massage and you're attracted to red and red is not relaxing, that doesn't mean you can't use red necessarily. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree, because I think that probably in my experience, having gone to other massage therapists, because I'm a longtime massage enthusiast, there are people who really make their brand their personality because they say, I am my business. And so my business personality, my business image, my brand is me. And so I'm going to make it reflective of me. So some people that is, it's very boho because that's how I perceive myself, for example. And so that's the look and feel that they follow, right? If it's more sports massage, it tends to follow graphic design elements that you would associate with that, So I think that you can really make it whatever you want. And to the point of evolving, it's a starting place. So you don't have to make it perfect from the get-go. You don't have to make it perfect right out of the gate. You are allowed to test and learn into what works for you. So, keep that in mind, because I think that that's what makes it really intimidating also is this idea that it has to be perfect from the outset. There are some fundamentals you need to put in place and definitely put some thought into them. So that's why we're talking about it today. But don't let it seem like such a high bar that you don't start or you don't do it, because something is always better than nothing. Always.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, because you can get caught up in being perfect or perfectionism, especially when it comes to branding. And you're right. I mean, things can evolve just like we evolve. Our businesses and our branding evolves as well. It's not a static idea. This is, evolution. I mean, so when Erika helped me with my branding, I was going from working as a solo practitioner to a spa setting where I'll have employees. So I wanted to change my name from Julie's Therapeutic Massage, because it wasn't just Julie anymore, to something else, which is when we came up with handcrafted therapy. And I loved the process going through it. But, I think another thing that might be helpful for people if this is something that they're interested in doing is maybe doing a vision board of your brand. And, keeping that available for future reference when you need a little energetic, creative burst of, what am I looking for? Like,
inspiration, right?
Inspiration. That's the word.
And also centering yourself. Like, have I strayed too far from what my vision was? Let me go back and look at it. Some people are much more visually oriented. Some people are more language oriented, whatever works for you. But I agree, a vision board would be great. And one way to think about it too might be how you're creating your space, whether it's a room or, it's a larger space. Some people have an instinctual grasp on what they want their room to look like and how they want it decorated. And so you could take materials from your room and add that to your vision board as well, so that that may inform actually what your branding looks like, because you really start with like the physical, tangible space that's easier for you to grasp. And then you translate that into other materials.
Yeah, I love it. I know in a previous episode, we talked a little bit about pricing, but I do want to go back to the pricing conversation. Are you good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing that I have done with pricing, so I don't know if I mentioned this before. So I started my business. I know Groupon is a really bad word in our industry, but I started my business on Groupon, and God bless them, it helped me grow my business. I know as much as we hate Groupon massage therapists, but it did a good job of helping me kickstart my business. And it got people in my door for a really cheap price. But what I want to say about Groupon now, that was a long time ago.
A very long time ago, yeah. And a lot of those sites have really declined in terms of usage and
Yes. So I don't suggest doing that now, but one of the ways in which I created a consistent, ongoing, steady flow of business was, I got them in the door for a low price. I hooked them. They were hooked. And then now they're paying regular price because I let them know up front that this was a very discounted rate. But I wanted to make sure that we were simpatico, that, that client was a good fit for me and that I'm a good fit for that client. And I want to also empower my listeners. You can fire your client.
Yeah, that's important. For sure.
So empowering the first time you do it. I swear it was the worst. It felt terrible at first, but as soon as I got it done, I felt awesome. So I empower you to fire your worst clients. If they're missing their appointments, if they're not tipping you, if they're being rude, if they, any of those things. I'm not even going to talk about the filthiness. Okay, let's not even talk about that. But hygiene.
That's an immediate firing. Well, Julie, why don't you talk about what it means to fire your clients? I would assume it probably means that suddenly you're your schedule is really busy. I don't know. How do you go about firing a client?
So that's a very good question. It usually depends on the situation. Of course, that's a very generic answer, but a good way to do it is, I don't think I can help you any longer. That's one. Or
Okay.
I'm no longer accepting new clients, or I think I would like to refer you to somebody else. I don't think I can help you in this situation. I've been asked full stop. I've been asked, hey, will you match the Groupon pricing? No, I won't.
No.
And then he said, well, I'm not coming back then. And I said, okay, bye. And
right.
that was the first time that I fired a client. And technically I didn't fire him. I just set my boundaries and he decided not to come. And so that might be another way of doing it, is just telling them, hey, I require my clients to come in with clean bodies. If you're not going to come in clean, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you. Or if they're consistently changing their appointment times or consistently canceling on you, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to serve you anymore because you're not giving me enough time. You're not adhering to my cancellation policies, or, you've consistently, really messed up my schedule. And I'm sorry, I'm not able to help serve you any longer. Maybe you can find somebody else to help you. That's kind of where I go with it. But
this reminds me actually, and you can determine how explicit you want to be in cancellation policies. Like, that if you have people's credit card and if they don't cancel within a certain time frame, and, obviously you can allow exceptions to that. Health is obviously more of an issue than it's ever been in terms of if someone's not feeling well, you don't want them coming in. But I was just thinking of a different service, the hairstylist I go to right now, and he is very in demand. He has, as we talked about, and we'll talk more about, he has an inordinate number of 5-star reviews on Google. So if you are looking for a hairstylist within a certain geographic area, he's going to pop right to the top for you. And he has a lot of great reviews. People are very descriptive in their reviews. You get a really good feel. He's posted a ton of pictures up to his account. People share pictures in their reviews. So all that to say, he's rigorous in terms of his requirements for clients. He's very clear on, this is the type of service I provide. This is what I do. If you're not interested in this, you need to go to someone else. If you're more than 15 minutes late, that's it. I mean, he has some very, very strong boundaries. He's been in business a long time and he can do that, So if you're starting out, you may think that those boundaries are harder to draw, and they are, because you're trying to build your clientele. But the boundaries you establish at the outset, at least some fundamental ones, are going to be key to what kind of business you ultimately develop. So don't be afraid to occasionally lose people. Obviously, you don't want to lose customers. You don't want that to be a high percentage of non-return, right? But saying no to the wrong things gives you more space to say yes to the right things. And so I think that is something you always have to go back to, which can be hard. I've actually owned my own business, and I know that, when you're not at the income level you want, or your business isn't at the stage you want yet, it can be very hard to say no to the wrong things, the things that aren't a fit for you. But ultimately, long term, it is the way to go. So real quick though, let's talk about, aside from the super discounted rate or what you did with Groupon, you have an ongoing half price first massage offer, correct? Or you have in the past?
Yeah.
Okay. So you used to.
I used to. So I always recommend a massage therapist to keep your regular price set really high. Like that's your goal. When I started out several years ago, my goal was to get everybody to pay me $100 an hour for a massage. That was my goal. So I set my regular price at $100. It also makes math easy.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, for instance, with Groupon, which I don't recommend, but I'm saying this is an example for the
Or if you're just going to offer some kind of discounted, get them in the door offer.
Right. Well, Groupon specifically took 50% right off. You go, this is my offer of 50%. So now you're offering the client $50 massage. Half of that $50 goes to Groupon. Half of it comes back to me, except for there's a credit card fee that comes also out of your section. So you end up making about $23.50 for that massage. That's normally $100. So, that's a break even. You got to think about your break even cost too. So if I'm paying rent at $100 a week and I'm only making $23.50 a massage, you've got to make at least 5 massages that week, right? To make rent and make a little bit of a profit. And that's not including tips or anything like that. But your break-even cost is $100 if you're only considering rent as your expenses. So if you're thinking about break-even costs, that's kind of how you calculate it. Is what does it cost you per massage to give, and how many massages do you have to do per month to make that? So,
well, and I think that's good to walk through, because I think that you really do have to go through all the math to understand ultimately what you're going to net related to your costs. And then even if it's not something like Groupon, if it's like you've set up some kind of a referral deal, which maybe we could talk about in a sec, then, you're backing that out, any other costs you have related to getting a new person in the door, that you're really looking at like what you're going to net on that. But I do think that if you are starting to build your business, that idea of some kind of first time discount is really appealing. And it doesn't have to be as dramatic as an old Groupon structure, but to your point, if you get them in the door and then show them great service and are clear about the fact that that is an introductory offer only, then, it can be a really great tool in your arsenal.
I agree. I think that what you said just now is perfect. I mean, the clearly communicating that this is a one-time offer, get in the door offer, this is not regular price. They know they're getting a deal, and they know that if they repeat or come back, they're a repeat client, that the next time they come in, they will need to pay regular price. Or if you have a package that you sell them, a package of 3 or 5 or 10 or however many massages that you sell, that they get a discount if they buy the whole package, which is what I kind of moved into. And then as supply and demand, changed for me, price went up. So I'll clearly do quickly what supply and demand curve is. So as supply is lower and demand is higher, price goes up.
Right. Yeah. And your time is a finite resource.
Right.
As a massage therapist,
right.
It's a hands-on job. Your time is a finite resource. So the more demand you have, the more you can charge for that time.
Yeah. And as if you found yourself like working part-time and now you're working full-time, supply is now up. And if it's the summertime and everybody's on vacation, maybe demand is down. So that's when price can go down, because your supply is up and your demand is lower. But we want to keep that price high at the beginning, so you can offer a discount when times are rough and supply is up and demand is down. So you can offer a special for the week of spring break, or the month of July or the month of January, those times when we have a lull in business, which is why I think it's really important to set your price high so you can give discounts.
Yep. Yeah. And to base it on those fundamental, cost realities, the math that you just outlined, so that you understand, like, okay, this is what I have to cover. And then I need to set my pricing higher so that I can take advantage of where there's high demand. and I can have room to discount when there's lower demand. So I love it, which I'm sure people are like, this is all operations stuff. And what I started with was operations is the key to marketing, right? Because all of those are elements, there are any companies that offers a product or service spends a ton of time thinking about pricing and how they adjust it to meet demand and then to yield revenue and to grow their business. So pricing is a huge piece of the puzzle. So I'm glad we talked about it. So we backed up, and I feel like we covered a lot of great stuff around how you think about your brand, how you establish your identity. I'll share some resources that you can put on your site as well. And then we talked about, that everyone is going to search is the fundamental of every single business now. So there's organic search, which is how you optimize your presence out there at no cost and how it's picked up and represented when people search for your type of service. And then there's paid search, which is where you go in and pay for the ads to appear against certain keywords, et cetera. I'm going to caveat that because of my career, it's been quite a while since I've been hands-on in either of those pieces. So I'm going to speak top line to it. And then you can certainly find people who specialize in small to medium-sized business SEO, which is search engine optimization, and SEM, which is search engine marketing. And so SEO is the organic piece that you don't have to pay for. SEM is the piece where you go in and do the paid ads. And so from an SEO standpoint, claiming your business with Google, you talk through that, you have to have a physical address. They mail you the card. They want to verify that you're legit. You have to go through that process. And then once you do that, I sat down with a friend the other day who just opened a brewery, and we did this together. You just need to set aside the time to explore every module of that My Business profile. So it's going to give you the opportunity to set hours. It's going to give you the opportunity to input certain keywords. And you need to think about what those keywords should be and make sure it goes back to that list of not just the adjectives that you pick, because those won't be as useful, but like that core problem that you're going to solve. They need to be utilitarian words that people would be looking for and would find someone like you. And if you're not sure, make a list of those words and then ask existing clients, ask friends of yours, hey, if you were looking for, here's my sentence, this is what I'm offering. If you were looking for this and you went to search, what would you search? And you may turn up a few things, that you hadn't thought of. So you have the ability to plug some of those in to your profile and then soliciting those reviews. There are people, I'm one of the people, if you have less than a 4-star review, I'm not coming to you. Like, I'm just not, And so some people may calibrate that based on pricing, that they may be, looking at, well, I might 3.9, but it's, pricing is right. Those are interdependent elements. But the more you can solicit positive reviews, the better that you're going to be. And so you can never have too many reviews. And I have been in a position where people have incented me at the end of a service to leave them a review by offering me a slight discount. So that's something you might think of, or offering me an extra or a perk. And usually it's after I've been to them the first time and they have a feel for like, oh, you're the kind of person I want to leave a review. Or I've been very complimentary of their service. So they know like, oh, this is going to be a great review. So you can have that automatic loop where you're just emailing them afterwards, which is great and fine. And you probably should do that. But the people you really want leaving those reviews, you can offer an incentive for them to do that. I don't know. Have you tried that? And how do you feel about it?
Well, okay. So there's two things I want to say to this. I've been solicited for reviews before from a business that I did not like at all. And I gave no indication that I liked them. And they really pushed reviewing their business onto me. And it really was off-putting. So I think
Got it.
we have to, there's a fine line, right?
Yeah, well, agreed. And I think that like the messaging I'm thinking of specifically, if you have one of those like automatically solicits the review, sends out an email, I think the phrasing and wording there is really important, you know, so
Well,
that you don't seem like you're stalking someone.
well, and I personally feel more comfortable leaving a review with a business who, I just got done saying, I loved this massage.
Yeah,
Really good at it. And they say, well, would you mind leaving me a review? If they ask me personally for a review after I've complimented them, I'm much more
agreed.
likely to do it. I've done it at restaurants, hair salons, nail salons, massage therapy places, all of kind of our similar industry, service industry people.
Yeah,
If I get an email or a text message the next day, I'm very rarely am I going to do it unless I know it's coming from you, right? If it's an
right.
auto generated ask, I usually ignore them. And this is me personally, but
Sure.
I think this way about not only reviews, but asking for the referrals as well. So
Yeah.
we should probably talk about referrals too, but I do think that asking for the referral and asking for the review from a client that's happy and it's a comfortable conversation to have with them is totally appropriate and necessary, in fact, for your business to thrive.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think that those are going to be the people who leave you the great reviews. And a thing that I was going to add though, there is, to your point, if you ask someone to leave a review right after they've had service, massage brain is real, right? So they may be kind of like, oh, I'm too relaxed. I would have, I've been in a situation where somebody texts me right at that moment and they're like, here is a link to my profile to leave me a review at that moment. And I might not do it right that second, but because to your point, they did text it to me directly, then I'm much more likely to just click on it. So you want to make it easy as possible, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. And that is one thing I do like. I think you bring up really good points around the auto-generated emails. I agree. And also it can be annoying if maybe I'm a longtime client and every single time I come to you, I get an automatic email that says review me. And I'm like, I already left your review. Stop harassing me, right? That's something you want to watch out for. How you set those things is very important. The one thing I do like about it is it does usually make it very easy for somebody to click and leave a review. So if you can accomplish both of those things, that personal reach out request and that ability to immediately act on it, then I think that's obviously ideal.
Oh, I do want to circle back to SEO conversation real quick because I want to talk about, because you framed it in the form of setting up your business on Google. But I think it's important to note that the content of your web pages are also an important part of that conversation, right?
Yeah.
So the way you talked a little bit earlier about maybe hiring or having a friend help you write content for your website pages. And I think using those keywords for the search engines to pick up on them is very important. And if you set up your website to where it feeds those Google reviews into your site and those search engines can pick up those words, then that's great. Sometimes we can't do that with simple, basic websites that we might get for free through the AMTA, for instance. But if you can do that and have your content on your page be legitimately what you want, an answer to the question that people are searching for, right?
Right. And the fundamentals of the services you provide. And so, yes, agreed. And there are basics around that, like, make sure it's text on a page versus trying to put words in an image so that, when your site gets crawled, images won't get read. Or if you have images that they have alt text or, there are a lot of elements like that. I will say that if you have a hosting provider, which is pretty simple and cheap to use, like a GoDaddy has a ton of tools now related to their sites. I know people have used Wix in the past. Usually those things might need just a teeny bit more money, but they come with so many more tools. And one of the areas where they tend to offer value is in SEO, because they prompt you to walk through at least the basics of best practices there. And they'll actively solicit you to, hey, if you're going to put a picture up, put alt text so that picture gets indexed. And then you can, to your point, make sure that you're as descriptive as possible and that those words that are most likely to be searched are appearing on your site. So yeah, those are really the basics of SEO. And that's where I would say marketing is a infrastructure cost in your business. It's not a nice to have. It's a need to have at a certain level. It doesn't mean you have to go out and do big splashy ads. That's not necessarily required. But when you look at stuff like we talked about logo, when you look at, choosing a service provider for your site that has a few more bells and whistles, it's probably worth just a little bit of extra cost there, because your digital footprint is so key to your business now, and the ability for people to find you and just learn enough about you to book an appointment is crucial. I mean, it's not even, there are very few people who can function without having like that footprint on the web now, even at a very local level as a service provider. So those are really the starting places. And then you're going to have a ton of people who will call you and offer you advertising opportunities. They probably won't. A lot of the most persistent ones won't call you anymore. So Meta, or what used to be Facebook, Instagram, they're going to assign some bot or maybe a person to, reach out to you periodically and say, hey, we can help you improve your account. We haven't talked about social media, but you can establish a cursory social media presence. What I'll say about that is, depending on the radius in terms of where you pull people from. So if you're in an area that gets a lot of tourist traffic, where people are traveling in for other reasons, and so you might have a broader geographic footprint, investing a ton in social, or investing more time in social, might be beneficial or more beneficial. From a, closer in geo that you're going to be pulling from, I would say you want to have some kind of presence, but I would not devote a ton of time to it. I don't know. Do you agree or disagree on that? Just because I feel like social media content updates can be a huge time suck. And in reality, a lot of times they're either reaching your friends, your existing clients who are already bought off, or people who may not even fall within your geography. How do you feel about that?
So if you post something like a picture of your space and say, oh, we just did something cool, we hung these lights, or we did something to upgrade our space to make it look nice, and you want to take a picture of it and post it, even if you didn't do anything to change it, maybe you just take a picture to become more active in social media, get people more involved, ask a question, talk about how you have a referral program, maybe to provide an incentive that says, hey, if you forward this and tag 3 people in it, you get a free half-hour massage session extra to what you're already getting, something like that. But I think pulling them into the conversation is important with social media marketing, in my opinion. And I definitely think that making that a part of your referral program could be really beneficial, because if you don't have a large marketing budget, which most people in our industry don't, unless you're a big chain, and if you're a big chain, you're probably not listening to my advice. Have fun spending all your money. If you are, give me a call. But if you don't have a lot of money to spend in marketing, you probably do have a little more time to sit down and craft a message. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It could just be a couple quick pictures, post it on Instagram and Facebook, or wherever you're active, wherever you're comfortable, wherever you have more clients, and focus it on people that will promote your business for you. Give your
Yes.
favorite clients the ability and the tools that they need to be your sales team, right?
Yeah.
And ask
Yep.
them to help you. That's another thing that a professional coach told me. One of the best pieces of advice I had starting my business was ask for the referral. And it's the same as ask for the review.
Share.
Right.
Yeah. Ask for the review, ask for the share. Yes.
Yeah. But, I have a referral program that is send me 3 people and it's free. 3 free. It's kind of rhymey and cute. And, you want something and you feel free to steal it. It's not mine. You can have it if you want it. It's shareable.
Yeah.
We're all in this big mess together. So let's help each other. Right. My advice is definitely to use social media to help promote your business, but then also ask your clients to help share those and be involved in that conversation. Now with HIPAA, we have to be careful. We don't want to tag people unless they've given us permission. Now, we don't have to necessarily follow HIPAA laws unless we take insurance. Or it depends on your state. So I don't want to get involved in the legalities behind that. So just know before you tag a client in a post what your laws are before you do it. But I wouldn't recommend it. But just hashtag massage therapy, hashtag best massage in Texas, whatever you want to do in that capacity. But encourage your clients when they're at your place. Maybe after the massage is over, just text them and say, hey, I hope you enjoyed your massage. Drink plenty of water. When you have time, maybe post a review here, send the link, tell your friends about me. I'm looking to grow my business,
Right. Yeah. And I think that for some people, social media they love it and they already spend a lot of time on it, whether it's you're really deep into Instagram or you love TikTok or whatever. And if you have passion there, you can invest some more time. And then the value, I agree, is, people who are your core clientele or decide to follow you, really sharing that content along with kind of their endorsement to their networks, right? Because what I'll say is all of those platforms, to whatever degree, are geared towards trying to get money out of you from an advertising standpoint. So they're going to want you to pay for visibility. So people sharing your content, great. If you think that you're necessarily going to pop up in a prominent place in a lot of people's feeds, that's not going to happen as much as it used to, just because the platforms want you to pay for that visibility now, right? And so that's where I would just be cautious about testing ads on those platforms, because that can be a lot of expense without a lot of return in some cases. And I'm not saying you can't test it, but starting with kind of the organic piece would be key. If you're going to pay for anything, I would pay for paid search. And there are tools that let you kind of test it out and do it yourself. You may be able to find somebody through a networking or chamber of commerce that works with businesses your size that could help you get that rolling at a certain investment level. But I would definitely start with paid search. And then, if you want to branch into social at some point, just consider how you're going to be using it. And if you do want to put money behind paid, I would just be very cautious.
And by paid search, you mean putting yourself at the top of a Google search, that kind of thing?
Right. Yeah. Good point. So yeah, you can pay to be one of the top 3 listings on a results page on Google. You can also pay to show up in certain people's Facebook or Instagram feed, or any of the social platforms have that option where you can pay to ensure that you show up there. I'm seeing a lot more local ads on Instagram than I used to. You may be as well if you spend time there. Facebook, I will tell you, it's declining in terms of users, and it's starting to tend to skew older for sure. So if you have an older clientele, that's probably not a bad place to devote time and energy and potentially a little bit of money. But if your clientele, and by younger, I mean, under 40, under 50, a lot of people are on other platforms increasingly. So, those are just things to consider in terms of where you invest. You're also going to get opportunity in some more old-fashioned options. So ads in community newspapers still exist, I think, community magazines, neighborhood associations, et cetera. And if you're going to consider any of those, I would say, number one, you are going to reach any print kind of advertising. You're going to reach an older audience. And then if you still want to consider it, which I would be very skeptical, you really need to ask a lot of questions about how it's distributed and exactly how many people get it and how many people read it. That's true of pretty much anything. You're going to want to look at scale in terms of investment. And what you can do is a pretty easy calculation. If you want to look it up online, you can just say how to calculate cost per thousand. But that's a good benchmark that anybody investing in paid advertising uses to just say, how much money am I paying to reach 1,000 people? And anything that is above like a $10 to $20 cost per thousand is not something you probably want to do at all. And then a lot of the digital stuff you look at is going to be under a $10 cost per thousand. So that can be useful just to Google as like, it gives you like a relative benchmark of here's how much I'm paying for like this fixed amount of exposure. And it allows you to compare different options against each other to see which one's going to be more cost efficient. So cheapest pricing isn't always best, but it's a good way to look at it.
I do believe that networking, old school networking is it's really worked well for me.
Old school networking is great. Old school advertising, I'm not as big of a fan of, but old school person to person, old school networking is great. And yes. And I think that, it's obviously more limited in scale, but if you're building a business that's based on you and your service and time, that's doable. That's scalable. And then in addition to networking, we talked about client referrals, but I think like affiliated or brand affinity in terms of other service providers that would refer to you is also a key component. And I know you've started your
going to your chiropractors around your area, the gyms around your area, the other places that are kind of simpatico with massage and your type of massage. So if you do a lot of, if you're an oncology massage specialist, you might be, going to your local hospital or cancer center to make connections. If you're a sports massage therapist, you might be going to gyms. Absolutely make those connections. And it's important to do the groundwork. I think that's one thing I feel like a lot of new massage therapists that are starting their businesses don't do. They just think they can post on social and maybe pay some money to do some ads and all these people will just flood in their doors. And that's not the results that you're going to get. Even if you hire an expensive marketing company that promises you the world, I think I really do believe that there's a lot of people out there that waste their money on all these marketing companies and it's expensive. And when you can just go to your local Chamber of Commerce networking event, introduce yourself and say, I have a specialty in massage doing A, B, and C, or, whatever your specialty is, and getting your name out there and doing the groundwork, doing the legwork, doing the old school networking stuff of putting your face and name out there to people and shaking hands and kissing babies, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you cannot rely just on the digital marketing pieces that we talked about alone to build your business. They're important realities in the terms of the way people find you these days, but getting out there and really, forming those kind of one-on-one conversations. And that's why I think that a lot of times people don't think of that as marketing. We started with it like operations, pricing. A lot of these business fundamentals people don't think of as marketing, and they really are. That is a key component to marketing, is how you get out and talk about your own business with people who would be interested or people who can help it grow. And to your point, you offered some great examples, but if it's like, it's more of a luxury spa type of massage experience, right? Then you can think of like, okay, where do those people go? So it's it's just getting out there and asking for those referrals. And sometimes, it's a symbiotic relationship, because if they have the type of clients that would refer people to you would vice versa be able to refer people to them.
Well, and this is kind of a good full circle moment here for our conversation, which is if you know who your target market is and you think about what else they like, they go to chiropractors, they go to the gym, they go to, I don't know, wherever they go to get facials, wherever they go, think about that person. Who is your target market and what else do they like? Right? Are they country clubs? What does this ideal person look like? What do they read? What interests them besides massage? And that's where I think you can really become more symbiotic and really be, a good full service marketing component for your business, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it might be that you're going to like a 10K because you're really focused on like sports performance massage and you're out there passing out flyers or whatever. So exactly. Who are these people? What else are they doing? How else can you find them? And your time has value, but in the beginning, when you're trying to build your business, your own blood, sweat, and tears is, what's probably the most available resource to you at that time versus a lot of additional marketing funds. So it's good to get out there.
Well, I want to say that, usually at the end of the podcast, I ask how we can help you market your business. I don't know that that's applicable in this scenario for you. So I'm very, very appreciative of your time.
Yeah. Yeah. The focus for me professionally is obviously on really large businesses right now. But what I will say is, as you look for someone maybe to help you with marketing as you get up and running, use a lot of the best practices we just talked about to find those people. Do some really specific searches, look at reviews, understand what cost-effective resources are available to you. You aren't going to be great at everything, but there may be pieces of the marketing puzzle you have some natural affinity for. And so even if you spend an hour or two reading some articles or some resources that help you make one part of your business or one of the things that we discussed a little bit better, then you're on your way to improving it.
Yeah, you're awesome, Erika. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge in marketing. I know there were some great things we talked about. We covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah, I hope that our listeners at least took something away from this conversation. Eventually, I want to go into business coaching for massage therapists. It probably won't happen by the time this podcast launches, but you know where to find me. I'm Julie Alexander with Handcrafted Therapy. So if you have questions or comments or want to add something to this discussion, please comment on our podcast. We'd love to hear back from you, see what worked for you, what doesn't work for you. We want to hear it all. Erika, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It was fun. As usual, we have no shortage of things to talk about.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Handcrafted Therapy podcast. I would love to hear from you. You can email us at podcast@handcraftedtherapy.com, or you can come by the store. It's at 3303 North Central Expressway, suite number 240 in Plano, Texas, 75023. Or you can connect with me on social, Instagram, Facebook, #HandcraftedTherapy. I'm Julie Alexander, and I wish you a very happy and healthy day.